brother Paul, who you can refer to as my boy. The problem between Wike and Fubara is boy and oga. And there is no way. Our president is one person who has been protecting democracy. So there is no way he will truncate it. Maybe in another few days I will be leaving for Abuja. We are doing everything, including Mr. President and Wike. Fubara is coming back as the duly elected governor of Rivers State.
Government Topolo Topolo there. Well, joining me on the program is a political analyst who has been consistent in her views and analysis of the situation in Rivers State. She is Obi Obiarukwe Undukwe of the Citizens Quest for Truth Initiative. Thank you for joining us on the program, ma'am. Yes, you listened to Government Topolo, aka Topolo there, declaring that similarly Fubara will soon be reinstated. That means cutting short the 6-month emergency rule. Does he know something that we all don't know?
Everybody has their own, they're entitled to their own opinion, and then like you said, it's also possible he knows some things that we may not know. But the truth is that I don't think that Fubara, the president had suspended his government because he's going to, remain out of government forever. No. The emergency rule was for the first 6 months. And of course, if we achieve the purpose for that, shorter than the time, that's still fine. Mm-hmm. But beyond rhetorics, beyond what people think, I think there are real issues, whether you like it or not. On both sides, I'm sure a lot of lessons have been learned. And so the reconciliation process we are looking at is not something that is going to be like, a fast food kind of thing, because there were real issues, long before now. This thing started almost like two weeks, after the inauguration of the governor. But unfortunately, many people didn't know until after some months. So they are going to sit down. There are stakeholders, and there are other people involved, both with on both sides of the divide, and those who are also, on their own, who are not taking any sides. So they'll definitely have to meet.
Are there people who have not taken sides?
And it's not just about the politics. Yeah. It's also about the state, the fate of the state, the economy of the state, and going forward. Because looking at the whole situation, whether you like it or not, it has also taken the state backwards. So they will need to sit down and then, come up with a strategic framework or something that was, workable.
Because, the minister of the FCT, gave some conditions for before peace can be achieved in the state. He said people from both sides will have to sit down, to still talk. But you said there are people, and it seems in this conflict, there's hardly anybody who is neutral. It's either you're on this side of the Fubara's camp, or you're on the Wike side.
Well, when I refer to those who are neutral, it's not like people don't take side, but there are persons who have not been talking. They are also stakeholders. We are talking about even the professionals. We're talking about, because we're talking about the state, the economy of the state. So there are people, investors, who may not have also taken sides. So it's going to involve everyone. So like you said, Wike had said, it's not about two of us alone. We have the lawmakers, because emphasis has been on Fubara, just like Topolo said. It's not only Fubara. We're talking about the deputy governor. We're also talking about the lawmakers, the whole assembly. Because a government cannot be complete without the legislature. So if you say Fubara is coming back, without these other persons, then that means it's just all about Fubara. So I think that's where Wike is actually coming from, that we need everybody, to come, and then let's know what the issues are and see how we can resolve them.
He has met with President Bola Tinubu. We've seen that and reported in the news. Some people say, well, an agreement was reached in that meeting. We do not know the details of that meeting because it happened behind closed doors. But what we know for a fact is that he has met with President Bola Tinubu. But how significant is this meeting, or was that meeting? And has there been any move by Fubara and his group, maybe to meet with Nyesom Wike, or maybe Nyesom Wike and his group, to meet with Fubara to have this talk in the interest of Rivers State?
Well, the meeting with the president, like you said, we don't know the details. Some persons say, but I know that the report we got said there were concessions. Fubara was ready to make some concessions, which we don't know the details of the concessions. It was just between him and the president, maybe with one or two other stakeholders present. But what people do not know is that even before Fubara embarked on that journey to UK, he had met with Wike.
We are in Rivers State?
At Wike's residence in Abuja. Yeah, he met with Wike I think that was on Good Friday, the day he had the media chat. You know, he met with Wike and they spoke. And the same thing Wike said in public was what he said from the information some of us gathered. You know, he also told him, it's not about me alone. You're going to bring some stakeholders, the ones on your side. I'm also going to bring the lawmakers and bring other stakeholders, you know how we formed this thing. You know how we sat and decided that you'll be governor and this person will be speaker and all that. So we're going to bring everybody and they will talk. Of course, Fubara assented to that. And
so you're telling us authoritatively that similar Fubara, the suspended governor of Rivers State, has met with Nyesom Wike.
Yeah, it wasn't in the news because, well, I think he didn't want that press thing. And of course, Wike also allowed that. And then after the meeting, that same day, he left for the UK. So when the news and the pictures of his meeting with the president broke out, that was the one that actually was trending. This other one didn't trend because I think somehow they didn't want the press, to be part of it. But we always have a way of, getting our own information. I mean, there's nothing that is actually hidden, even if you hide it not for too long. And for those of us who have been preaching peace, I've been here on several occasions and I've been consistent about the fact that it's a political solution. No amount of grandstanding will help anybody. Some person said, no, it's constitutional, people, they should go to court. The court spoke, the Supreme Court spoke, yet the problem continued until the president intervened. Like Topolo said, Wike said, it was just to probably avert a worse situation. Okay. Maybe he would have been impeached and maybe he would have been long gone. So I think the president stepping in at that time was also good. So if they shorten the period of the emergency rule, better for everyone.
So do you see a likelihood that this emergency rule might be shortened? And you also said something that it was reported that Fubara made some concessions. Some people say one of those concessions includes dumping the People's Democratic Party and joining the APC. Is that possible in Rivers State that is traditionally a PDP state?
Yeah, yes.
Because they say if he makes that move, he will then lose his support at the grassroots.
If he makes what move to APC,
yes,
and he will move. Well, I don't know. Because one thing I know is that sometimes, depending on who is involved, who the governor is or the leader is, it depends on your popularity. If you're popular, irrespective of the party you move to, your supporters will move. Well, we also got that report that there's this arrangement for him to move to APC. It's not official yet. I didn't also get that from my sources, But if it is true and he's going to the APC, well, if he loses a chunk of his supporters, don't forget there are still people within the APC too. APC is also very much on ground, in Rivers State. So that will probably build up. But again, before you make such concessions, you must, do your proper calculations. Like I said earlier, you remember the first time I came here and I said to you, Fubara has not been in the business of politics. So he needed to learn the ropes. He needed some guidance. He needed some people to, teach him the way to go, to be able to handle this kind of crisis.
He's learning the hard way.
Yeah, but of course, if you don't learn well, if you don't want to be taught, you will learn the hard way. And when you learn the hard way, you'll be forced to even make concessions that may not also be, in your favor and convenient for you. But of course, you're vulnerable at that time, so you have to, But the important thing is it going to bring the peace? Is it going to help to move the state forward? We're not talking about 2027 yet in Rivers State. We are talking about development and getting the agenda, what they had for the state. They had a blueprint, the consolidation of the New Rivers vision, and then we've not seen much of that, even though part of the some of the projects that were initiated by Wike, he's still on them. But we need to get something better. Rivers State was actually competing with Lagos before now. was following Lagos. So, but now it's like Rivers State has taken a back seat. So they need to also do something to be able to, cover up what they have lost. So I think that for the concessions and for moving to APC, we don't know, maybe in a few in weeks to come, it will be clearer. And if he's going to the APC, well, it depends on what he's promised. It's also possible that maybe if you come to APC, we'll help you to whatever. Since, I don't know. I don't want to say that because it's not official yet.
But you know, Wike has said and continues to insist that it's not about him and Fubara. It's about, you know, a larger group of people, the State Assembly, even members of the National Assembly from Rivers State who are also, you know, caught in the crossfire, different groups, politicians, religious leaders, traditional leaders. But do you think all of these groups, beyond Wike and Fubara, do you think they are disposed to finding a political solution to this conflict? Because you know, when there was an attempt to find a political solution, it was also reported that some of these groups influenced either Governor Fubara or Governor Wike to further, you know, exacerbate, you know, this crisis.
Okay, let me tell you something. It's a game of, it's like a rat race. You know, it's a spiritual dance. You know, once beaten, they say twice shy. Indeed. You know, they've had, first of all, there were some agreements reached before these people became whatever, governor, assembly, and all that. This is what we're going to do as a party. And then suddenly, some persons began to shift. You know, the blame was to the governor that he didn't want to keep to the terms. You know, he wanted to take over the structure and probably do things in his own way and all that. And then the president stepped in and tried to reconcile. And then he agreed to, you know, the peace deal. And then some weeks later, he backed out and said, no, he wasn't going to, I mean, it was just to give them a float in some kind of maybe fulfilling all righteousness and all that. You know, so it's not going to be very easy, even if he comes back to Mr. President or even to the Wike group to say, okay, I'm going to do all of this. You signed a peace resolution before the president, before Dr. Peter Odili, before Wike, before other major stakeholders. And then you reneged on that shortly after, and then began to sing a different song, you know. So even now you come back to say, oh, okay, I'm going to do this because probably you are vulnerable, you are desperate to get back. The other party will also be very careful. You know, it's like what our people say, when you want to dine with the devil, you have to lose a long spoon because they don't trust you anymore. Your word is not your bond. So he needs to convince them that this time around, he's not going to play to the gallery. He's going to stick to whatever they agree. And I don't think that what has happened, I mean, the other party will be sticking to something that will be difficult for anybody. I think they now know that the state needs to move forward. So everybody has to be careful. So on Fubara's part, he needs to really convince them that he's for real this time around.
But you know, for the House of Assembly members, they also bore the brunt of this conflict. They were not recognized by Governor Fubara. Their allocations was withheld, and several their salaries and all that, and several kind of ill treatment meted to them. How can they be placated? Because there are also concerns that, well, when the state of emergency is ended and they are all reinstated, they might as well continue with the impeachment move, which is constitutional.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that if they decide to continue. But you see, we are going to look at the bigger picture. And that's why some persons are calling for a reconciliation committee where some of these things will be addressed. The governor needs to know that, yes, there were serious constitutional breaches, you know, which you committed, and they are all impeachable offenses. Okay, so it was, in fact, the Supreme Court was short of even saying remove him and all that. Yeah. So he needs to be told that maybe he didn't understand, you know, the seriousness of the matter, and maybe those who were advising him were downplaying things. So he needs to be told, you know, that's why I said there will be other stakeholders who may not be, you know, who may not have taken sides. You know, we need some the legal luminaries who will be there to let him know that this, that. And if we continue on this, the assembly has every right to go ahead and impeach. But again, it's politics we are playing. We are even seeing it happen. People go on TV, abuse one another, and the next day you see them. Did anybody believe that a Fubara will go to visit Wike and sit down, and after talking, pleading, and all the cry and all the this, and they shared some bottles of drink together? Many people will say it will never happen. Some persons are still saying it didn't happen.
And then it now brings the question, where does that leave, you know, interest groups, those that have come out to criticize Wike, those that have come out to criticize Fubara, those that have insisted or continue to pile pressure on Fubara not to respect that peace accord. The elders in Rivers State who were on Fubara's side, those who were on Wike's side, where does this leave all of them?
But let me also tell you, that's why I said on one of my TV outings, I said, we are actually meddlesome interlopers, because we were not even part of this group when they decided, when they agreed. Very many of the people who jumped into this matter were not part of it. In fact, somebody said, oh, Fubara shouldn't sign this, Fubara shouldn't do this. They're not even politicians. That's number one. The people you're talking about. Two, some are just fast food kind of groups that they set up to be part of whatever and get whatever. You know, if you're ready to sponsor, people will come around. But in the real sense of it, those who were part of it, I know that the orderlies were there. Yeah. And Wike, of course, demanded that they will also be part of the meeting. I know that Chief Ferdinand Anabraba was there, Chief Sergeant Awuse, Osijo Koja, and the rest of them.
Of the meetings?
No, before now, when they agreed on who will go where, who will get what ticket and all that. So it's their internal affair. So I think that by the time they do this, every other person will, it's either you want to join them, if you can't beat them, you join them or you walk away. So you can't tell Fubara not to go for peace. I mean, nobody should do that at this time. That would be unfair and unreasonable. At least let him go there and then see how he can, complete his, at least first tenure before we talk about the second tenure. And then, of course, make amends. And then for the assembly, you talked about their remunerations and all that. Of course, it's possible they will be paid whatever allowances and all that were allocations that were withheld. The law made it clear that the government shouldn't do that, so they will be those will be released to them. And of course, these things have a way of also calming down people. And like I said, it's all politics. There are no permanent enemies, no permanent friends, but permanent interests. So once your interest is protected, I think it's all business as usual. So
no permanent interest. And people are wondering how, these two men were even able to see eye to eye, and they are beginning to even maybe ask some questions or begin to imagine who brokered these meeting between Nyesom Wike and Fubara, and who also brokered the meeting between. Well, I heard it was at his instance that he asked to see President Bola Tinubu.
But of course, he didn't go alone.
Okay, to meet Wike or to meet President
Tinubu? He didn't go alone to see the president, and he didn't also go alone to meet with Wike. Okay, he went with the governor of Ebonyi State was there. The governor of Ogun State, Dapo Abiodun was there. And then the former governor of Ogun State, Olusegun Osoba, was there. They took him to Wike's house. And when he got in there, he walked straight to Wike's living room, because that's a house that he's used to, he's familiar with. It's a familiar terrain. So that's the truth of the matter. So those who ought to have known, some even doubted, the very close persons were saying it didn't happen because he didn't even carry them along. I mean, there are times when you are, in crisis, you just tell yourself, look, I need to do this. So now, but the funny thing is that the people that took him for that meeting are all APC people. There's no PDP there. So probably that's the reason why that rumor came that he's going to defect to the APC. We don't know. But again, for now, Wike is still a member of the PDP. He's not joined the APC yet, even though he's working in an APC government. But the people who took him there are APC leaders.
So would you say his party, the People's Democratic Party, failed him?
Did they really fail him? I think that he just decided to walk away. Maybe he's also not comfortable with what's going on with the party. You see, the party is also in crisis. You see Okowa, that, was the running mate to Atiku in the last election, has just defected. The Delta governor has defected. So there comes a time in a man's life when you make some calculations without even asking the next person. Even when your wife asks you, you just tell your wife, well, I had to take that decision, so you just follow me. So anyone who wants to follow him will follow him, and anyone who doesn't want to follow him. But let me tell you something, no matter the reconciliation, there's a lot of sacrifices are going to be made. Some persons will be sacrificed, some persons will walk away after.